Good evening, pallets and mercs. Today we're going to be reacting to Mechanical Frog. Why do we love pulse lasers? Now, I do have a story about that, but I'll get to that in a second. I want to address some of the comments that I've been getting in the last couple of videos. I just wanted to say, first off, I do hear you about the audio. I have been tinkering with it to try to get it right. I think I've dialed it in for this video. We will see. But I do hear you. I am working on it. And if you're ever wondering what some of the clicks were in the last couple of videos, that would be the overhead fan trying to keep my mechs cool. It tries its best, and that's all we can really hope for. So sit back, grab your snacks, grab your drinks, and let's roll the film. Alrighty, battle tech. Why do we love pulse lasers? And I believe this is the older Martyr. Something like that. Matar, I believe. Wasn't it like 100? I think it was like 100 ton. It's either that or it's the behemoth. But I thought the behemoth was a little bit more wire. Come to think of it, it kind of looks like, this looks like a wider Marauder. Like, obviously it has dual cannons, so probably not a Marauder. It's not a Marauder, I know that much. I think it is the Martyr coming at 110 tons, but yeah.
We set sail in this new sea because there is new knowledge to be gained, and new rights to be won, and they must be won and used for the progress of all people. For space science, like nuclear science and all technology, has no conscience of its own.
This sounds like something straight out of Portal 2. Did your scientists were so caught up in if they could do it, they didn't stop to ask if they should. Ultimately, it gave us the pulse laser, so...
Whether it will become a force for good or ill depends on man. U.S. President John Kennedy, May 25th, 1961, Terra. Along with spaceflight and a few other classic tropes, lasers are part of the bedrock foundation of science fiction. From books, TV, and movies, if there is a conflict represented in the future, it most likely will include some sort of laser weaponry. There might be variations on the concept, like blasters in Star Wars and the las gun from Warhammer 40k.
It's kind of funny that he's fighting a shadow cat here, because somebody was saying, oh, just wait until you start playing Mechwarrior 3. I remember some of the OG builds that people would use for Mechwarrior 3. Like, I've played it to the point where I remember some of the builds that we would use. So essentially, you would put, I think it's close to 6 or 7 medium pulse lasers on a shadow cat. You'd pop up over the rock. You would just alpha strike with that. Depending upon what you hit, you'd probably either leg it, core it, whatever. And then you just gracefully, or, well, my case, plummet like a rock, behind cover. You would shut down, and then you just dissipate the heat and kind of giggle about your build that you just put together. Chat, I have to admit, the Shadow Cat really does.
But they all
look
sit
good.
happily under the umbrella of futuristic guns that don't usually need bullets and involve light as an energy transfer mechanism. When this video goes live, I'm going to wait and see if I can hear the teeth grinding from people who will happily explain to me that one or the other isn't really a laser weapon. Good thing I don't care. They're all lasers to me. Pew pew. Here in the real world, if it is in fact the real world and not just a simulation.
Oh. I love how this is set up. I didn't really comment on it last time, but Mech Tech looks... Yeah, this actually looks really cool. I don't know how I would get this. I don't know how I would stream this, but this does look like a lot of fun. to just put together and like play in general. Yeah, like I said before, I didn't really comment on it last time, but this looks like a lot of fun. I'll have to download it at some point.
Lasers have been around since 1960, when a researcher at Hughes Laboratories by the name of Theodore H. Myman built a laser using theoretical work done by Charles Towns and Arthur Shallow. I'm going to save a lot of the history of lasers for the official laser video, but all we really need to know for now is that laser amplifies and concentrates light energy into an incredibly small location. This transfer can cut, burn, or melt objects on which it is aimed. So as far as we need to understand it in this video, imagine light being focused through a lens to burn whatever it's aimed at, be it an anthill, piece of paper, mech armor, or your troublesome roommate.
Like go. I was about to say something, but that last bit caught me off guard. What did he steal from your fridge? Was it a monster? I think it was a caffeine source. You don't take a pilot's caffeine source. You do that, they're going to break your kneecaps, and you're going to deserve it.
You've probably seen videos online with people playing, often recklessly, with powerful handheld lasers. However, what we're talking about with...
I know he's not talking about me directly, but God, I feel so called out right now. God, like I feel so called out for good reason. Like, I may or may not put a bunch of different lasers and PPCs onto a mech and field it, and then watch as the heat gauge goes up higher than my IQ, but it happens.
Battle mechs requires a significant shift in scale. Large lasers powered by fusion engines could cause a significant amount of damage on most things they're aimed at. The prospect of a high damage weapon that does not require dangerous ammunition is a temptation that mech designers could not resist. Since this video is on pulse lasers and not lasers in general, we're going to do our best to focus. Pun intended. Technically, the pulse laser, like so many other technologies in the Battletech universe, was first developed during the Star League era and then subsequently lost to the Inner Sphere during the Amaris coup and Succession Wars. It's practically a trope at this point, then one I'm not particularly fond of, as it kind of smacks of Warhammer's 40Ks. All the good stuff was developed already and then lost, only to be rediscovered Mars Mechanicum nonsense. Pulse lasers operate in a similar way to a general laser, however the energy is not released in a steady stream. Instead, it's released in pulses, which concentrate the energy into short bursts, sometimes so quickly that you wouldn't be able to identify any difference. Concentrating the energy improves the performance of the laser and gives it, the vaporizing armor, a chance to diffuse into the atmosphere, rather than creating a continuous cloud of sublimating material. I'm not sure how well that would actually work, but we're firmly in the sci-fi space magic science portion of this video. In short, the pulse lasers are trading.
You gotta love when it dissipates your armor and then proceeds to dissipate your core into nothingness. And I don't know if the audio wasn't there, but by the time you would hear all of these damage reports from your Betty, I won't call her bitchin' Betty because she is not bitching enough. She's not bitching enough. She's not bitching fast enough to tell you what's going on and what you need to do about it. Actually, what you're going to do about it. To be fair, it doesn't really give you any tactical advice, which would be an interesting take on it. Titanfall did that, for example, but yeah, for Mechwarrior Online, it'll usually be like, warning, incoming, missile. And then Mechwarrior 3 would be like, it would do it a little bit quicker. I don't know. Maybe I can get like a clip of it or something. And we can try to compare the difference, but nonetheless, it does not warn you fast enough, and we need to get back to
range for
topic on
efficiency
hand.
and additional heat. In the tabletop rules, your standard pulse lasers are going to get you a -2 on your 2-hit rolls on attacks. This can be an incredibly powerful advantage in situations where the opposing forces need to roll higher to hit with their weapons. The cost of this advantage is that the small and medium pulse lasers weigh twice as much as their standard versions, and the large pulse laser weighs 7 tons to the normal large laser's 5. The other cost is additional heat. Standard lasers run at 1, 3, and 8 heat for their small, medium, and large versions, while the pulse lasers run at 2, 4, and 10.
Which is why, for the most part, usually run the medium lasers. It's almost never worth it to run the larger ones unless you do a mixture of large and medium lasers, kind of like that bull shark build that we saw the other day. It's almost not worth it to run large pulse lasers or just large lasers in general. Technically, that goes to the PPCs as well, but what can I say? I love firing big balls of lightning.
Since the clans don't use standard lasers, the closest comparison is with the ER versions. This is where things get odd because, as it turns out, it's more energy efficient to run a clan large pulse laser at 10 heat than an ER large laser at 12. Someone kitting out their clan Omni-Mech will have to make the choice if 5 additional hexes of range is worth at 2 additional heat. However, a clan large pulse laser takes up 6 tons while an ER large laser only weighs 4. Theoretically, you could negate the heat difference by taking one of the 2 tons saved by going with the ER large laser by adding the additional double heatsink. Theory crafting mech building is always so much fun, even after decades of doing it.
There is nothing more entertaining to me than to diving into theory crafting. Like, that to me is almost it's almost its own reward for when you go into the my extension of that would be the mech lab, right? You always see me in the mech lab just absolutely tearing apart mechs, putting them back together with some insane build. And it's almost as fun to theory craft it and to build it and then to field it as it is to actually use said build. Now, in this person's case, they tend to make more balanced builds. I tend to run Arrow 4s on Locusts, so probably not the same, but we're still... I think we still appreciate the same things here.
If you're a fan of the channel and you've seen my antics on social media, you likely know I'm a big fan of pulse lasers. My personal general use loadout on my Ebon Jaguar carries 3 large pulse lasers, 2 medium pulse lasers, and a tag, with enough heat sinks to...
That is actually a fantastic build. Yeah, you're going to absolutely melt things out of range with those. I could actually get behind that build. That is... Again, I don't think I've seen many of the rants on social media because, I mean, I frequent videos. I don't so much frequent social media, but I could definitely see where that build would be effective.
Fire off all the LPLs and 1 medium pulse laser in a turn while remaining heat neutral. It's a feisty one for sure. We'll have to test it out in a mock battle to see how that -2 hit modifier can impact that battle. Here we have the innocent clan Jade Falcon piloting an Ebon Jaguar on patrol on the surface of a recently depopulated moon. Where all those people went is a mystery for the ages. Without notice, a cowardly marauder steps out from the crater. Ebon Jaguar's Mechwarrior moves in and confronts the mech. At a 10 hex distance, the 2 mechs open fire. The Marauder fires its ERPPCs, which are at a medium range at this distance. That's a +2 modifier to hit.
This is the first time I've seen the tabletop version of Battletech. And I immediately want to play it. God, this looks like so much fun. Like, especially if I could get my hands on a bushwhacker, like that could be fun.
There's sunlight and calm atmospheric conditions, so no modifiers there. The Ebon Jaguar moved its full 8 hexes, which is a +3 modifier to hit, and then Marauder ran, which is another +2. The Marauder's gunnery skill is a 3, so that's 3 + 3 + 2 + 2, or 10 or better to hit.
That is some math. I think I kind of spaced some of the math here, but we'll see how it all plays out.
That's a 25% chance for those of you who aren't steeped in the probabilities of 2 6-sided dice. The Ebon Jaguar's Mechwarrior fires its 3 large pulse lasers at that same moment. The Mechwarrior's gunnery skill is also a 3, +2 because it ran, and +2 because the pulse lasers are firmly in medium range. The Marauder ran 6 hexes, so that's another +2. For the normal weapons system, a shot would require a 3 + 2 + 2 + 2, or 9. However, the pulse lasers receive that -2 modifier to hit, which brings it down to a 7. Thanks to moving a little faster than the Marauder and being equipped with pulse lasers, the Ebon Jaguar now has a 50% chance of hitting. That's 50% versus 25%. While it's true that the dice odds could be generous to the Marauder, the odds are not in favor of it in the current situation. That -2 to hit from the pulse lasers can have a big impact on a battle. There have been a few advances in pulse laser technology as the Battletech timeline marched forward. The Clan Wolf scientist case wasn't idle in the first years of the clan invasion of the Inner Sphere. In the early 3050s, they were testing out an ER pulse laser technology that would potentially fix the issue with shorter ranges of the lasers. They did it through combining the optic systems from ER lasers and power increases through the pulse laser designs. After the smoke cleared, they had a pulse laser that did extend further, but it was slightly less accurate. Before Clan Wolf could put these new ER pulse lasers into widespread production.
It's interesting that they brings that up. So the Jaguar in that particular instance wouldn't have the range like I was thinking earlier. Also, I want to point out that I think it's really interesting that you have a percentage chance to hit on like the firm tabletop version. Still looks cool. I'd love to see if there's a tabletop version of the game somewhere.
They ran into a little
Or like someone's like hosting that sort of game.
problem with Clan Jade Falcon, and many of the researchers fled with Felon's Wolves into the Inner Sphere as a result of the Refusal War. If you do use an ER pulse laser in a mech design, know that it only has a -1 to hit modifier instead of the normal -2. Throughout the 3050s, the Federated Commonwealth researchers sought to improve the range of their pulse laser technology with the hope that they wouldn't have to trade off the laser's accuracy. This stunningly creative solution was to just add more power and increase the cycle rate of the pulsing laser. If only the other Inner Sphere states had thought of that, right? The new lasers were called X-pulse lasers, and their only drawback was a significant increase in heat generation. A standard large pulse laser generates 10 heat, but the large X-pulse laser generates 14. So,
sheesh, that thing's hotter than a normal. That'd be hotter than a normal large laser. That is crazy. Guess my investment in a whole bunch of double heat sinks wasn't that bad of an idea.
if you're considering using one on your mech, you're going to have to decide if shifting that range profile out to 15 hexes from 10 is worth it for that much extra heat. In the 3060s, the word of Blake researchers began working on what would be known as a variable speed pulse laser, or VSP. They'd employed a series of rotating lenses and electrical interface cutoffs to control the power and focus of the pulse lasers. The end result was a weapon system with improved range, but at the cost of accuracy and power, and increased power and accuracy at close ranges. What that looks like on the tabletop is a -3 to hit modifier at short range, -2 at medium.
I don't know if a shotgun version of a pulse laser is, again, terminology might be a little bit off, but basically at that range. Maybe a short range pulse laser would be a better term for it. I don't know if that's worth it, but at least you'd have some for CQC range. Okay, maybe some for me then, because I usually tend to be within brawler range anyways.
And -1 at long range. Additionally, the damage profile is modified to do more damage at short range and progressively less as you move into medium and long ranges. One of the major reasons why I like pulse lasers in Battletech is that among all the weapon systems that have come along since the days of 3025 Battletech, the lasers were comparatively boring. Sure, there were the ER variety, but basically they were the PB&J of the system. Adding the pulse lasers creates an opportunity to trade a range for accuracy and improves some nuance to your personal style of play. The pulse lasers have shown up in some very powerful mech designs like the Stone Rhino, the Rifleman 2C, and the Penetrator. The Night Sky remains one of my favorite medium intersphere mechs, largely because the pulse lasers on it make it such a great hunter for medium and light mechs. Do you have a favorite mech or variant that equips pulse lasers? I'd love to hear it in the comments below. And
I don't know if the Shadowcat originally had pulse lasers. I think it might have had 2 pulse lasers and a goose cannon or a Gauss cannon. I call it a goose cannon. Inside joke, you'll mostly have to watch the streams on that one to figure out what I mean by that. But long and the short of it, I don't pronounce words very well, and it just went downhill from there. But I think the Shadowcat would be my answer.
keep the
for that one.
conversation going. Big thanks to you for watching. I appreciate the support as the channel has grown more in just the past few months than in the previous year. As always, the Ko-Fi supporters are amazing, and without you, I would have to spend much more time in the real world rather than creating content appreciating this pretend one. If you want to see more, check out the Why Do We Love the Gauss Rifle video link you see on the screen right now. Now take care and go make the world a slightly better place today and tomorrow.
Hell yes. I absolutely love that message. As a matter of fact, you're welcome to click the link in the description or up in the cards in order to find this particular video, where you'll find the video that he has on screen here at the end of the video. Please go and support them. They are absolutely fantastic. And this frog sticking out of the mech here is so cute. That is really well done. But yeah, no, he did a fantastic job breaking down the pulse lasers. I think that the history of it's going to be more with the lasers, which I'm more looking to do later on this year. Well, I say later on this year, it's probably going to be, we'll get to those weapon systems soon enough. But with that, this has been Call Sign Annika, signing out.